Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're being as sketchy as usual. Today we're diving into a fun and educational topic, the difference between cel shading and soft shading coloring styles. For that, I'll be working on a fan art of March 7th from Honkai Star Rail, while I chat with you about these techniques. And why this picture in particular? What does it have to do with coloring styles? It will make sense in a moment, you'll see. Feel free to grab your sketchbook or tablet and draw along with me right away. First, let's make things clear. Cel shading and soft shading. You might have heard these concepts before, but maybe you're not sure what they exactly mean. Cel shading is a shading style that you can find in most animes, cartoon shows, and comics. It's all about bold, flat colors and these sharp edges around shadows. On the other hand, soft shading features smooth gradients and subtle color transitions, giving a more realistic or even painterly effect. It's mostly used in paintings and illustrations, either digital or traditional. Cel shading has its roots in traditional animation. The name comes from cells, short for celluloid, which are these clear sheets of acetate that are used, or at least were used back in the days, to create 2D animations. Meanwhile, soft shading is just an evolution of traditional painting techniques, like those you can see in old paintings like the Mona Lisa, the girl with the pearl earring, the swing, and many more. Before we dive deeper into the uses and pros and cons of both of these coloring techniques, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon community. If you're enjoying this content and want to learn even more art tricks, check out my Patreon. I offer exclusive tutorials, custom clips to dip in brushes, and a ton of other art resources to help you improve your skills. Plus, it's a great way to support my channel so I can keep making these videos for you. You can find a link in the description below, and it should also appear in the top right corner of the video right now. As I was saying, cel shading is super efficient in recreating just enough sense of depth for our eyes to understand what we're seeing, while not having to spend hours and hours on that art. Can you imagine having to animate a character with lots of gradient on their hair, their clothes, and with super complex light and shadows that have tons of different values? In other words, can you imagine having to draw and paint the Mona Lisa, for example, thousands of times to make her talk, walk, fight, and jump? You wouldn't survive the second drawing. That's why cel shading is the most common coloring style you'll see on any drawing that moves, such as animes and video games, because it economizes resources and time for those who have to work on that art. Soft shading is much more time consuming, but it can add a lot more realism than cel shading. It is perfect for recreating complex atmospheres and depth, but it requires a steady hand and lots of patience. Now, why am I talking about this? Why did I choose this specific illustration to talk about coloring styles? Well, that's because this artwork is one of the hardest I've had to shade in a long time. You might have noticed on other videos or from the many times I've talked about this on Instagram over the last months that I've been experimenting with watercolor brushes. So my coloring style has also been changing. I spent most of 2023 experimenting with a more cel shading style for my art, because I just love how clean it looks. I watched so many cartoons and animes as a kid, so I guess it has a home feeling somehow. It also feels easier to some degree. Since cel shading is all about sharp shapes, you basically just need a fully opaque brush and an eraser to use that coloring style. It's like a binary system, paint or no paint at all. Definitely sounds easy, and you know I'm all for finding easier ways to work on my art. So I dedicated most of last year to experimenting with that style. There are several pieces I did during that time that I haven't posted yet, and one of them is this March 7 fan art. I started this piece when I was super motivated about cel shading, but as I had to work on commissions and other projects with more priority, I left it half-colored for quite a while. I can't remember how much time it passed, but it was certainly enough for me to start getting tired of cel shading again. So when I came back to it, I just felt the coloring was terrible. I felt it was too flat and too dirty even at some spots. The contrast was all over the place. Even some of the shapes of the shadows, I just hated them for some reason. I hated the coloring so much that I even made a copy of the file and tried to paint it with soft shading instead. But that didn't work either. No matter how much I tried, I just couldn't figure out a way to paint these and not hate the results. So what I did was try to fix what I already had on the original cel shaded version and finish it as best as I could. I honestly could have ditched the drawing and moved on to the next one, but it was almost finished and it was also fan art, so I tried to push through for you, because I thought you'd like to see me drawing this adorable girl. It also kind of served me to remind myself that frustration is part of the learning process, and the fact that I hate the result doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that I don't like it, but I am not you. We all have different tastes, and what might be garbage for someone is a treasure for another person. My perception of my own art is fucked up, I know. I've struggled with this for years and I doubt I'll ever fully get rid of it. But I won't give up just because my brain tries to trick me into thinking this is an ugly drawing. I'm pretty sure if I had finished this drawing back when I was so into cel shading, I wouldn't have ended up hating it as much. As I said, I decided to try cel shading again last year because it looked easier and faster to do. I certainly finished my art faster back when I used this style around 2016 or so, but then at some point I started to feel restricted by it. Maybe it was because I couldn't optimize my workflow or tools to make it more comfortable. I don't know, but the point is that it didn't feel enjoyable anymore. Hence why I moved back to soft shading, but not my usual soft shading style, because I was running away from that one because it didn't feel good anymore. And that's how I picked up watercolor brushes again. Wanna bet how long till I get tired of those two? These ups and downs are totally normal in the life of an artist. It's very easy to get bored, or more like to feel like your current style or tools don't work anymore, you know? We are constantly trying to improve and evolve. So sometimes when we get too comfortable with a certain technique, we feel it's starting to backfire and making our art go from god tier to utter trash. If you're in a similar situation, here's my advice for you. Take a deep breath. Your art isn't ugly. You're just having a disconnection between your brain and your art. This happens to all of us, and it will keep happening from time to time. It's part of the adventure of being an artist. Try changing something. It could be your whole coloring style like I did, or it could just be the colors or the brushes you use. But try changing something. That will force you to learn how to work with something new. It will force your brain to work differently too, which can unlock that little spark you need. Whether this new experimental phase is successful or not, in terms of it becoming part of your new workflow, that doesn't matter. You're still gonna learn things you can use in the future. Perhaps to experiment with something else or to go back to your usual methods. In my case, this cel shading phase made me realize that I don't like having to switch brushes to create different kinds of strokes. I feel much more comfortable using just one brush to do a super sharp line or a blurry one. I guess I'm that lazy. So watercolor brushes felt like an interesting solution to cover those needs. But I wouldn't have realized that if I hadn't tried cel shading and hadn't struggled with it at some point, like it happened with this piece. As you see, failures can teach you a lot. It's all a matter of trying to look at them from outside of the box. Easier said than done, I know, but it's good to have that reminder. Now I'd love to hear from you. Do you prefer cel shading or soft shading? Or maybe you like to mix them? Let me know in the comments below. I think my style is a mix of both, to be honest. That way I can get the best of both worlds. So that's a wrap on our exploration of cel shading and soft shading. I hope you found this video useful and inspiring. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to create art. Just keep experimenting and having fun. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on future videos. And don't forget to check out my Patreon for more exclusive content. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on drawing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!